So today what I'll do is I'll start by talking about this new premium content bundles that we have at Edulastic. They're called Spark, and they've been in the works for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. They were driven from, the need was driven from teachers and districts who wanted to have more content, but didn't have the time or the resources to build their own content. So out of that initiative, we put together several different combinations of content bundles that would span the grade levels of 3 through high school. So I'll talk a little bit about what each one of these are first, and then I'll go into the product and we'll take a look at what they look like and how to access them. So the premium content bundles that we currently have are SparkMath, SparkReading, SparkPhonics, SparkScience, and Spark Computer Science. We've just launched SparkReading as well. That's come in the last few days. And we have Spark Advanced Placement packages that'll be coming out any day now. For advanced placement, we have Calculus, Bio, Chem, US History, Government, English Comp, and English Lit. So first of all, the big question is, okay, how do we access this? Where if you've been a user of Edulastic for a while, you may have not seen the Spark promotions. So there's a couple places that you can find them. First is you'll go to the dashboard, and under your trial, under your profile, if you click on the subscription link, then it will take you to a place where you can access any of the Spark packages for a free 2-week trial. So that everybody can have access to that without putting down a credit card. And then it gives you, after the 2 weeks, you have the option to upgrade for a full 12 months. Now, the subscription to these are dependent on having either a premium teacher account or having an enterprise or school or district paid subscription. But we do have some bundling and bundled prices that make that really easy, especially if you're a single teacher in your school or district that is using it and want to test it out. So the full bundles, just to get some of the nitty-gritty details out of the way, the full bundles are $100 per teacher or $2 per student. And then if you want to purchase a single subject like phonics or computer science, it's at a reduced price of $50 a teacher and $1 a student. So when we go into the product, I'll show you how to find those and how to access that free trial and the subscription. So let's start with a quick overview of each one of the areas. The first is SparkMath. This is the one that we've launched with at the middle of last year, and it offers several different curriculum paths. So the first one is our general one, which we just call SparkMath, and that's based on a sort of a generic outline that encompasses the essential skills from a lot of different curriculum areas, and it's based on pacing guides that we receive from customers and from other sources. The other curriculum alignments that we have are Engage NY, Illustrative Mathematics, Go Math, and Eureka Math. So if you're using any one of these in any one of the grade levels that are offered from 3 through 12, you can assign students in the mini assessments or small little practice activities that are aligned with the modules and the pacing guides that are recommended from those curriculum alignments. Now, something to point out is that these are not exactly one-for-one. They aren't meant to replace your curriculum or your printed test or your paper test. It's not an exact match. However, it is aligned with them, and they supplement each one of your activities, each one of the units, whether it's a module test, a quick check, or an end of the unit test. They align based on the pacing guides that are recommended from those curriculum. SparkELA has a huge package right now. So we've got SparkReading, SparkPhonics, SparkBooks, SparkWords, and SparkWriting. So SparkReading is a series of comprehension articles that are science-based, informational pieces and fiction pieces. And they're just sort of light, small activities, 3 or 4 questions each, and a fairly short passage. They're meant to, again, supplement your curriculum. They can be used as homework assignments, in class starters, extra work for kids who've maybe moved ahead or are fast workers, or reinforcement for some students who need a little extra reading practice. So that's the Spark Reading bundles. Spark Phonics is designed for K through 2nd grade, potentially some 3rd grade users who are needing some extra support or are remedial. And so the Spark Phonics has a series of activities, dozens of activities that address anything from sight words to commonly spelled words to sounds, diphthongs, all kinds of stuff that you would see in like a workbook for that you would use in a K1, possibly 2 class. And so those are the Spark Phonics. SparkBooks are the top 30 most frequently taught high school and middle school texts in the country. And they are quick checks or quizzes for each chapter. They include vocab tests that are pre and post at the beginning of the unit, at the end of the unit. They also contain a final assessment, which some have written essay prompts with rubrics, and others are multiple choice. So teachers can kind of choose through the number of assessments. They can combine chapter tests, pull apart the bigger end of unit assessments and or the vocab. So those are the Spark books. Those are a really great offering. Spark Words and SparkReading are very much like word choice. Their grammar, the vocabulary exercises, they're similar to No Red Ink or some of the other types of online grammar and word choice exercises. And so those SparkReading is actually available now, as is Spark Words. And SparkScience. Okay, so SparkScience includes elementary, middle school, and high school items. There's more than 1,000 items, and they're aligned to NGSS. So as a science teacher, you're probably well aware that throughout the country, teachers approach science curriculum very differently. So trying to find one size fits all is a tricky challenge. So what we've done is, based on feedback from teachers who have helped us develop these, we have broken them into 2 different approaches. And one is the disciplinary core ideas from NGSS. So it would be a breakdown of those standards that fit together. And then another approach, or a second type of curriculum modules that you can choose, are based on just the standard itself. So you would have 6 or 7, maybe 10 questions per standard, and you can pick from those so that you can support what you're already teaching in the ways that you are teaching it. In addition to that, there are a combination of traditional questions, and we've also included some claim evidence reasoning tasks, or the CER tasks, for middle school and high school, and we're building those out for the elementary school as well. And Spark Computer Science. This is inspired by the curriculum and the paths at code.com. It addresses computer science activities and coding activities for grades 1 through 12. They're basic to advanced, and there are thousands of questions. Again, this one is a complement to whatever you're already working on. Different schools and different ages might teach the same thing, where a 5th or 6th grade class who are doing coding might be at the same level as a 9th grade class for coding. So we've left this in sort of a wide range of activities that are based on loosely based on grade levels, and that's Spark Computer Science. So now let's jump into Edulastic, and I can show you how to find these and what they look like and how to use them. So this is a signed-in account for teachers, and the Spark collections are found first in the test or playlist libraries, and then once you've used one or once you've assigned one, it jumps up here to your My Playlist, and that's where you'll find that. If you are a premium teacher and you have not used playlists yet, this link, My Playlist, won't show up on your dashboard yet. It happens once you've already assigned or once you've used or shared a playlist. So let's start down here at the playlists. Just like the test library, you'll clear out the filters and you can filter for your subject. And then you'll also find in your collections the Spark collection that you've chosen. So it would be like SparkMath, for example. Let's start there. So SparkMath, you can see when I've selected this, I have 46 different playlists. And what this is this is a series of assessments for this entire grade for Eureka Math. So you're looking at one tile, which looks like one of our test tiles, but it actually contains quite a few dozens of mini activities or tests that you can use in this playlist format. So let's just jump in here with the Eureka Math aligned, and I'll show you what that looks like. You can, when you first come across it, you can click details and browse through it. You can also, if you know that you're going to use it, you can just simply select that use this button that I glossed over just a few minutes ago. Once you've had a chance to look at the details, then you can also come back up here and you can also select use this up here. So this just gives you an idea. If you're familiar with Eureka Math or loosely familiar with it, you'll recognize some of these titles. So you've got module 1, module 2, module 3, and each of these represent a unit or a section in the curriculum for 4th grade Eureka Math. You can see it's broken out by topics, the way that Eureka Math does it, and mid-modules assessments. As a teacher, you can preview this. Over here on the right side, you can preview it. And this process is how applies for all of the Spark playlists as well. So you can preview them just the same way. You can find them, filter for them, all the same. I'm just demonstrating this with the math. So that gives you a preview as a student would see it. If you decided to use this, you could click use this. You also can clone the playlist. And so this is useful for teachers that are using a couple curriculums, for example, or are weaving in and out or have some of their own lessons that they wanted to incorporate into this. It also lets you pull out or remove certain lessons from this. So you can clone, just like you would clone a test and modify it. In Edulastic, you can do the same thing with these playlists that are the Spark bundles. If you wanted to share it with other colleagues, you could do that as well. I'm going to select the use this so you can see what that looks like. So I'm going to enter this as period. There we go. I'll do period 1 math class. Save it. And now this Eureka Math playlist will show up in my playlists. It also allows me now to assign the modules and customize them. The math is the most comprehensive of the Spark bundles that we have because math, if you notice up here, is broken into the playlists, which are all the series of assessments and activities. You've got insights, which provide test data or data about each of the students' tests. And then there's Differentiation Tab. And the Differentiation Tab allows you to assign practice or even advanced assignments to students depending on how they scored. And we'll go into each one of these tabs shortly. So if I wanted to assign this whole module to one of my students or all of my students, or even just a group of them, I would select assign module and I'd walk through the assignment process the same way that you would if you were doing just a single test. Let me just back up here. If I didn't want to assign the whole module, which would mean with this module, it would mean that the students would receive all of these on their inbox. You may want to go just one at a time. And if that's the case, then you could assign just the single one by pushing this assign button. And now you're assigning just one test. But the beauty of it is that you do have them all organized in a sequential order or in a logical order so that you can assign other pieces of it at a later time. Before I get too much further, I want to point out that with these modules, you can have not only tests, but you can also assign resources to them. So you might have an assignment, and below that assignment is a short video clip that either you made or you found from your curriculum provider, or even something from YouTube, for example, that provides additional learning and an additional activity, or a way of reinforcing some of the concepts of that. And so by assigning, by lumping these resources and tests together, you can assign them both, and the students will see that video on their dashboard as well as the assessment. I have an example of that I'll get to on the ELA side of the presentation, but right now I want to show you, while we're here, what these insights and differentiation looks like. And let me jump over here back to one that's already been assigned and has some data. To switch between your the used playlists, you just push this little switch button, and I will go to this grade 8. And let's see here. The insights on this demo account are not showing up the way that I want them to, but I can explain them in the way that as your students are taking these tests, you will see different buttons. Like this is like a radar screen, and you will see different points for each one of your students, and you'll be able to tell where they're falling. And so it gives you a visual between the high performance and time spent, and high time spent, low time spent, low performance, and you can kind of get an idea of where your students are falling. Are they doing very well and doing it very quickly, and most of your students are in this area? Then that would give you an indication that you're ready to move on, or you can assign deeper or more activities, or even the next level of thinking for this type of activity or skill. On the other hand, if they've spent a high amount of time and have lower performance, then a lot of them are struggling. In that group, you may want to focus in a different way. So that's where this differentiation will come into play. When you click over here to the differentiation, this will tell you, based on the assignments that you've assigned and how they've done. If you have students that need to review, you can assign just these review assignments. You can assign practice work, which would be for those students that kind of have it down pretty well, but maybe could use a little extra work on it. And then finally, these are a little bit easier tasks, and these would be, a little bit more advanced tasks, and these would represent where you'd want to send, or what assignments you would want to give to those that are doing extremely well and are ready to move on. So this gives you an idea of just how robust this SparkMath is, and it's based on the student performance by one module or all, and you can move the students along in a very organized and logical way using these playlists with the insights and the differentiation. Let's pop back over here. I'm going to switch over to the 8th grade ELA, and I could show you what another playlist looks like. This is a language practice, and you can see that there's a student resources here. So this one is one it's a smaller playlist. This was built by this demo teacher. It wasn't one of our Spark bundles, but it gives you an idea of the kind of ways you can use these playlists and the extra practice that you can add. So this one has a language arts test, and then there's a little resource here called comma practice. And so it's a video. If you launch it, it rolls into a video, and the students would see that as well, and then can answer the questions. Now let's jump over here back to the playlist library, and I'll give you a little flavor of what the other areas look like. Keeping in mind that SparkMath is the one that has the differentiation to it, but all of the other categories have insights, and so you can get a quick idea of how they're doing on insights. So without going through the filter right now, just given that we want to show you as much of this as we can, I'm going to jump over here to the Spark Reading. This is a comprehension practice. The Spark Reading is lumped by or organized by grade level, and these are grade level and Lexile scores. And so these are a series of articles that the student will, these are passage-based articles. The student would read the article on the left side, answer 3 to 4 questions on the right. Almost all of these questions are multiple choice or automatically scored tech enhanced questions. There are a couple of these assignments in each one of these sections that have a free response or an essay response or a short answer where the students can give you some of their own input. And we've intentionally made them fun and light. They aren't heavy essays that they would have to write, but it's more like taking the topic and spinning it into another direction of, you know, asking them to do something like write a poem about what they read, or write a flyer or a letter to somebody that's related to the articles that they read. So you can see it goes from the youngest age and then all the way up to the advanced, which are current affairs, their environmental type type passages, and a lot of science passages. Some interesting stuff for older, more mature readers. And again, we've labeled them as advanced and 6 to 8 because these are just roughly aligned to the Lexile scores. If you have a very advanced student who's in the grades 2 or 3, you know, they may very well be reading the 6 to 8 articles. And that's why we've put them all in one. That gives you sort of a flavor of what each one of these look like. I want to, before I end, I want to show you I'll show you briefly what the science ones look like. Here's the SparkScience. Here's SparkBooks. Oops. So you can see some of the texts from these books are very wide range of classics and soon to be classics, some really topical ones that teachers are teaching right now. And then finally, let me jump down here now and I'll show you how to access the your subscription. So down here at your profile, if you click on your profile and you go to the subscription, this is where you can see all of the options that you can do to add on. So you've got each one of these bundles. There's SparkMath, Book Buddies, which is the great books. We've got STEM cross-curricular reading, and those are a series of articles that are STEM related. These are pulled from Highlights Magazine, Smithsonian, other places that are open source, and we have built these sort of science-based articles and activities, and that's in the STEM cross-curricular. You'll find this in the reading comprehension. You'll also find this in the science bundles. Here's the phonics, Spark Computer Science, SparkScience, and Reading Comp Practice. So this is by clicking one of these. I don't know if this demo will let me do this, but by clicking one of these, you can initiate your free trial. And I think then when you're ready to purchase, you can just add these to the cart here. So when it's on the add-ons, and the trials would be here. So I hope that you've enjoyed this quick overview. We are always looking for feedback. This is, as I mentioned at the beginning, that this is a brand new effort for us. And we are looking for the type of content that is the most relevant to the greatest number of our users. But also at that point, also, just any suggestions that you have, we're looking for those as well. So we want to continue to build these out to make them as relevant for you as possible and to make them as easy to use for you as possible and take away that extra time that comes with building your own assessments. And with that, I will turn it back to Lauren and we can take any questions.
Thanks, Jenny. That was great. I love seeing what the differentiation tab offers and how, from as a previous classroom teacher, having that as a option is a great resource to help differentiate their classroom instruction and next steps for each individual child. So it's definitely a benefit I definitely see of Spark. Do you want to cover Smart Start diagnostic assessments?
Yeah, so while the Spark bundles are a paid subscription, we also have some Smart Start diagnostic assessments that can also be found in the test library. And these are assessments that we've pulled that focus on the essential skills from the previous year, and they can be used for like, for example, a fourth grade math class at the beginning of the year can assign the Smart Start diagnostic for beginning of year fourth grade, and it covers the essential skills from third grade. And so it's a free resource that we've pulled from a variety of sources from our free and public library to create these quick little starts that you can use to get a quick diagnosis at the beginning of the year. So we have them for ELA and math. And then I think the next thing we want to talk about is we have a certified professional program. And if you're not familiar with it, we have 2 levels that are existing, and the level 3 is about to release. Level 1 is a basic user, like a teacher user. It does touch on the premium features. And so you do have to have a little bit of experience with the premium features. But then the level 2 is actually another step up, and it's more like an administrator or some of the broader, more advanced topics. And finally, level 3 is going to be the author track. So level 3 will cover how to build and how to share and all the little ins and outs of using and building assessments.